Well, it's all going off in the Labour Party because Sir Keir Starmer's Green U-turn has dominated the front pages over the last few days after he slashed his party's £28 billion pledge towards environmental investment. Now, The Telegraph reported this afternoon that there's been another row back, with Labour now dropping plans to backdate its £11 billion windfall tax attack on oil and gas companies. This latest flip-flopping over environmental proposals firmly puts the spotlight on one Ed Miliband, obviously not even the most talented Miliband brother, but there we go. The Tories are running with this continual flip-flopping now. They've gone in with a Where's Ed website, all right? Where is Ed? It's got a timer after they say he's gone into hiding following his £28 billion spending plan going down the pan. It's not the only thing, by the way, that Ed Miliband has got wrong, as we no doubt will discuss. Of course, it's not the first time he's got mixed up either, because Miliband's previous promise for no new oil and gas licences massively damaged Labour's relationship with the union. He is also responsible, by the way, for one of the most expensive green policies that the world has ever seen. Did it work? No. So, is it time for Starmer to sack Miliband in an attempt to rescue the Labour Party's reputation? Joining me now for this head-to-head is former editor of The Sun, Kelvin MacKenzie, and we've got the wonderful journalist as well, Mike Buckley, a usual regular now on my Monday nights, but there we go. Kelvin, look, I'll start with you. Is it time for Ed Miliband to go? Has he got to go?
Well, I think there's two aspects to him. He is, if you know the expression, give me lucky generals, can't have been an unluckier man to ever get to anywhere near the top of the Labour Party. So he's the leader for about half an hour. He eats a sandwich wrongly. He turns out to have two kitchens but hates capitalism. And so he gets a terrible thumping in the polls. But instead of just calling it a day, he decides, I haven't got anything else in my life. Even although I'm a defeated leader, I've got to hang on to power. So for the last couple of years, he's been the kind of energy secretary for Starmer. And that's been a disaster for everybody. If you talk to any of his allies, he is so into green taxes and green spending, it's devoured his life. And what's happened? They've been thrown out with the bathwater. So I'm astonished. I'm about sacking him. Why is he still there? He's unlucky and he can't deliver. It's surely time for him to go.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, he's obviously not going to resign, which is why I'm not posing the question, should he resign, really? But, Mike, look, I've got some bits and bobs here. So he was in the cabinet under Gordon Brown. He put forward legislation committing Britain to an 80% cut in CO2 emissions. Apparently that cost us £1 trillion, which would make him the most expensive policymaker in British history, this guy. He brought Dale Vince into the Labour Party in a way for a bit. That ended pretty badly, the Just Stop Oil guy. He wanted energy companies nationalised. He's responsible for this no new oil and gas thing that's alienated the unions. I mean, he's a disaster, isn't he?
No, I mean, I just want to correct what Kelvin said, which was that he wasn't leader for 5 minutes, he was leader for 5 years. And Labour led the Conservatives in the polls for most of those 5 years. Admittedly, we then went on to lose the election, so it's not a spotless record, I agree with you. But I think what we need in politics, and what we need in lots of sectors of society, is people who are willing to try and fail and then carry on, because he would have learned a huge amount leading the Labour Party for those 5 years. Good on him. He resigned straight after that election and decided he was better in a different role. And actually, I think this is a role that he's much more suited in. But honestly, the other thing I don't get is why the Conservatives have got a website saying he's not been seen for 141 days, I think. He was on Channel 4 News this afternoon talking about the Labour Party's policy on this. So I really don't know where the Conservatives are coming from, to be quite frank. But no, I don't think he should resign. I think he's a good man. I think he's doing a good job. We have to address the climate crisis.
How can we say, look, Mark, how can we say he's doing a good job when every time he puts a policy forward, it either costs us £1 trillion or doesn't happen?
But the point of this policy being changed is the fact that it isn't the Labour Party's choice. That is happening because the Conservatives have made such a mess of the economy. So the money that was there to be spent 2 years ago is not there now. That is not the Labour Party's fault. It has the same aims, the same ambition. It's just going to have to move a bit more slowly, simply because it takes the public finances seriously.
Kelvin, do you buy this Labour excuse? That's what's keeping Ed Miliband in a job at the moment.
Actually, funnily enough, I am wholly in favour of them dumping what would have probably been a complete disaster for us. In some ways, I can't wait for Labour to get in to watch this whole catastrophe explode. But the truth about the matter is that actually what Starmer has done is in line with how people think generally. They do not want money spent in this way. And actually, all that's happened is that he's hiding behind some bump in the economy in order to dump something that the voters don't want. They don't believe in the green policy in this massive way. They want slowly but surely, rather than the madness which a Miliband and his people like. But the other one that's got her hand in the blood on all this is Rachel Reeves. After all, for the last 2 years, she's been as big a proselytizer of this particular policy as Miliband. The only cautious one in this has been Starmer. I am astonished that she hasn't thrown her toys out of the pram and she's gone as well.
Well, this is the thing, Mike. You know, I was at that Labour Party conference in 2021 in Liverpool where, through the vehicle that is Rachel Reeves, she proudly said, I'm going to be the greenest Chancellor ever. And it was because of Miliband's £28 billion pledge. He's done other things as well. You know, he said he wanted Labour to commit to the national grid being carbon-free by 2030, which is impossible, OK? He refused to buy an electric car for the vast majority of the time he was pushing this stuff as well. You know, this guy has mugged off the Chancellor, he's mugged off the leader, it's U-turn after U-turn. Seriously, why on earth is he anywhere near a shadow cabinet? I mean, why is he potentially going to wander into Downing Street and presumably make them turn all the lights out?
You know, I have to say I'm genuinely mystified as to why Ed Miliband has suddenly become public hate figure number one, I mean, on this show and from the Conservative Party as well. He's been consistently in favour of serious action on climate change since, as you say, he served in this role under Gordon Brown. And by the way, I think he did a very good job of that. We are facing a climate crisis. We have to address it. You're saying these policies are expensive. Sure,
well, it can't be that much of a crisis, Mike, because they're not doing what he wants, are they? If it was an absolute emergency, we'd be doing it all, wouldn't we? We're not.
There's nothing more expensive than runaway climate change. We have to address it. If you can go with a better policy than this one, then please go ahead. I would love to hear it. I'm sure the Labour Party would as well. Otherwise, this is the only game in town. And Rishi Sunak, I heard him earlier on saying, oh, we're the ones with the plan. Labour hasn't got a plan. This is Labour's plan. No one ever goes back to Rishi Sunak and says, well, mate, what's your plan for the climate crisis? He hasn't got one. What's your plan for the economy? He hasn't got one. That's why we're in the mess that we're in.
Oh, hold on, Mike. Hold on, Mike. You say that Labour has a plan. Well, they had a big plan. They've been talking about it for years on end. And now they have, 1/5 of a plan. And they say when the money's there. Honestly, I promise you the money will never be there. And unfortunately, the only person that will be there will be Mr. Miliband, who's one of life's great losers. Even his family don't like him. It's impossible.
I'm mystified as to the new hate for Ed Miliband. He's genuinely a good man just trying to do a good job. And this attempt to create splits between him and Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer, they just don't exist. I mean, they're working together, working in concert.
Mike, look, with respect, mate, you can't say the splits don't exist. They've just completely ditched his policy. They've not implemented any of the other policies. Dale Vince was the other guy he roped in, the Just Stop Oil guy. Go on, we'll take £1.5 million out of you. They've had to give that up because Just Stop Oil is now, although they obviously would deny this, and I don't mean this literally, essentially an eco-terrorist group. He won't let them wander in. He's alienated the unions in Scotland over oil and gas. I mean, the guy's about as popular as Novichok, surely, Mike.
I don't think that's true at all. And he's, as I say, he was on Channel 4 News. He's been doing media rounds defending the change in policy this week and putting the same explanation forward as Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer has. And we have to stop using oil and gas. There is no way forward for this planet, for our communities, for our country, if we don't stop using oil and gas. He is just calling a spade a spade. Not everyone's going to like it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be said.
All right, Kelvin, look, the fact is, if Starmer was in power right now and had been since October the 7th, he'd have lost half his cabinet because of the old Gaza stuff. He'd currently be taking an absolute kicking on the doorstep, and potentially anyway, he would have been in a situation where he would have just lost his environment secretary or whatever the heck Ed Miliband's job is now. You know, you can't govern like this, can you?
Well, no, as Starmer is going to discover, he's a lawyer. So he's not used to making decisions. He's used to being told what to do and a large amount of money being handed to him to do it. So I see no hope for Starmer. And Starmer, with a bit of luck and a following wind, has a lot of this on his plate. Every time he sees a policy where more than the doorman disagrees with it, he dumps it. I'm afraid he's not a leader. He's a follower. And I don't believe that will work in today's autocratic approach to politics.
All right, look, Mike, final one to you. Some of Starmer's screeching U-turns here, you know, sacks Rayner, then promotes Rayner in the same day. nationalisation. We want rail, mail and energy in common ownership. That plan was dropped. We've obviously got Brexit, universal credit. We've got childcare, tax the rich. They're not really taxing the rich. Abolishing the laws. They're not abolishing the laws. Bankers' bonuses, ULEZ. I mean, if Keir Starmer told you it was raining, you'd have to go outside and check, wouldn't you, Mike?
What I would say is I wouldn't want a political leader or a prime minister that wasn't willing to respond to events and willing to respond to changed circumstances. That's what he's doing. And also, yes, he has been a lawyer, but he was also Director of Public Prosecutions, which is running an enormous organisation. It's akin to running a major government department. He is absolutely a leader, as he showed then and as he showed since he took over leadership of the Labour Party.
You're not bothered about all of these U-turns, though?
The things that you've described are simply Labour working towards putting forward a project, a prospectus that it wants to put before the country, and it's also responding to changed circumstances, as they've done this week. They've recognised
not everything's changed. you can't. I mean, the House of Lords hasn't changed. It's still there. It's been there for however long it's been there. It's a massive building. I mean, that's not changed. The ULEZ thing, for example, changed when he realised he was getting a kicking in Uxbridge. I mean, if it is this easy to change the mind of a Labour, the Labour top brass, I mean, any of us could do it. He's got no conviction.
I mean, if you think about the House of Lords, for example, if you're going to completely get rid of the House of Lords and create a new second chamber, that's going to take up loads of government time for a whole term. We've got other priorities, and they have recognised that, including the NHS, including the education system, including the economy, including climate change. All of these things actually are more important than just some constitutional movings and deck chairs. All
right, both of you, thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed that, as ever. Have a cracking Friday evening. Take care. That's the former editor of The Sun, Kelvin MacKenzie, and journalist as well, Mike Buckley, who you'll normally be able to catch on my Monday night panel. So there we go. And he's going to be especially good, by the way, when we do our big People's Forum with the Prime Minister on Monday. But I'll tell you more about that later.